You're listening to The Limo Show, presented by Towne Livery. And here's your host, David Bastian.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Limo Show, coming to you live via the World Wide Web. My name is David Bastian, your host, bringing you The Limo Show each week on Blog Talk Radio. Now, I encourage anyone out there that's listening to the live stream to call the Limo Show hotline in the second half of the show if you have any questions for myself or our guest tonight. And you can reach us at the Limo Show hotline at 714-868-0786. That's 714-868-0786. Now, I have been looking forward to this show all week. Last week we had Randy Bussey on from Workforce Development Group, and we talked about customer service. And the topic was basically about communication with you, your business, and your customers. Today we're going to talk about something that relates to communication between you and your employees. Now, this week's show is all about drama. Now, it's not the drama that you would expect to find on TNT television, because they know drama, or in the movies. Now, today we're going to speak about drama in the workplace and its effects on productivity of your company. Now, all companies have some sort of drama. Now, I've been in sales for 19 years, and I've experienced or participated in my fair of drama. We all have. And basically, we've all made this mistake. Now, when we get caught up in that moment, we don't realize the impact of our actions and how that drama impacts the people around us in the workplace. Bottom line, drama can get in the way of true productivity and profit and eat away of the effectiveness of your organization. That's unless a leader steps up and takes responsibility in your company for changing the course. Now, our guest tonight is a dynamic business and motivational speaker and communications consultant. She has a unique ability to reach across boundaries of many types of audiences. She's dealt with Fortune 500 executives, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. She's dealt with from employees to front lines. Now, I just found out today she recently won an award, and we'll have her talk about that. But she's the author of Stop Drama in the Workplace and the founder of AttitudeBuilders.com. I would like to welcome to the Limo Show, Marlene Chism. Marlene, welcome to the Limo Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Well, what you found out today you won an award. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, I can tell you a little bit about it. There's a company that they purchase rights to take these books into the business world and put them on audio. And they choose 30 every year that they call the 30 best business books, and mine was chosen as one of the 30.
Oh, that's great. We got to give you another clap for that. That is great. That is great. And I'm glad to hear that news. Now, you worked for Kraft Foods for 21 years, and you worked in the plant, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what motivated you to leave that job and embark on a completely different career that you've taken on as far as writing and speaking?
You know, David, I went through what I call the three life tragedies, and a lot of people go through these three life tragedies. The first one is when you realize you want something more, but you don't know what it is. And so many people are just living these lives of desperation. They are working only for the paycheck, and for a while that was me. At first I liked my job and it provided for my needs, but I started wanting something more, but I didn't know what it was. Then the second tragedy is when you know what it is you want, but you don't believe that it's possible. And the third life tragedy is when you know what you want, you believe it's possible, and now you have to be willing. So what motivated me was really pain. So the hope that people out there can have if they feel pain, either from the economy or their workplace, is that pain always facilitates change when the pain becomes big enough. So I eventually started developing myself and going back to college, ended up getting a communications degree, and I actually left before I got the degree, but I found a purpose, and I had discovered some information that was helping me to grow personally, and I wanted to share it with the world. And then through my studies at college, I refined that message, and here I am today.
Now, why did you choose drama as your focus or specialty as far as your writing and your speaking?
I jokingly say you teach what you need to learn, but really why I chose it is because in my development, when I was going through those three life tragedies and I started investing in myself, I learned about something called the Karpman Drama Triangle. The Karpman Drama Triangle is a model that was used for family therapy, and it was built by a psychiatrist, medical doctor, and the idea is that when drama happens in a relationship, when things are not running smoothly, when relationships are dysfunctional, you'll find patterns of behavior, you'll find orientations, so to speak, and those orientations are victim, persecutor, and rescuer. So if you were looking at a triangle with a point facing down, at the bottom point in the one down position is the victim, at the upper left is the persecutor, and at the upper right is the rescuer. And I take this model and I've developed it and I've tweaked it a bit, and I use it as part of the methodology I've created to let companies know where their teams are not functioning and where there's behaviors that are not serving the overall good of the company.
Now, in the second half of the show, I'm going to ask you about that methodology, so I'd love to learn about it. Now, when you talk about victim, are you saying drama in a sense that an individual feels that they're the victim or
yes,
that everybody's against them?
Yes, that's correct. It's a mentality. So think of it as a set of behaviors. Like most of us, when we think of victim, we think of someone that says, well, it's not my fault, or this always happens to me, or I didn't have any choice. In fact, one way as a manager or leader that you can know whether or not someone, including yourself, whether someone has a victim mentality is when you say, well, what are your choices? And they say, I don't have any choices. Because a victim never feels like there's any choices. So that's one of the key components of looking to see, is there a victim mentality going on, which is the exact opposite of what I teach, which is an empowerment principle of becoming a creator, which we'll talk about later. But yes, the victim, it's a mentality, it's a way of operating, it's a lens from which a person sees the world.
Okay, now your signature process is called the Stop Your Drama methodology, and your premise is that drama keeps you from success. So I have three questions before we get into some other questions I have. I have three questions around the whole drama idea. Where did you come up with that term?
Okay. The term drama, as I said, I talked about the Karpman Drama Triangle, and I loved that. But what I wanted to do was develop a term, in fact, a terminology and even a language that was different than what was already out there. Because let's face it, we've all read a lot of leadership books, and we're all just, having great ideas, but we're repeating a lot of the same information just in different ways. So what I did was I created a definition for drama. And the meaning that I attach to drama is any obstacle to your peace or your prosperity. And so that, is going to be in there, I guess, on a question that you're going to have about how I define it. But
yep. I do have that question. How do you define it?
It's any obstacle to your peace or prosperity. So the way that I tell people to visualize it, because I use this language that I call the language of the island, is if you've got a flip chart and at the bottom left you see a little guy in a rowboat, at the bottom right and at the top right of the flip chart you see an island. We're always trying to get to a goal. We're always trying to achieve some sort of success. And what stands in the way of that success, if you'll visualize a shark right between you and the island, between the little guy in the rowboat and the island, or between you and your team. So the shark is the drama. It's the obstacle that keeps you from getting to where you want to go. Now, very interestingly, drama manifests or shows up in different ways. So when someone says, well, we have turnover, we have absenteeism, the reason you have that is because it's an outward manifestation of drama. Drama meaning there's obstacles to the success of your company. So it shows up as backstabbing, office gossip, absenteeism, turnover. Personally, we may experience drama from the worry about the gas prices, the economy, the mind that you just can't get rid of all the negative thoughts. That's drama. Drama can show up as the fight you had with your spouse, and you can't concentrate because you're so preoccupied with it. So whatever stands in the way, of you accomplishing your goals, in other words, your peace and your prosperity, anything that stands in the way is drama from the definition that I use.
Now, how does a person identify drama?
I love that question. The way that we identify it is we identify it by what we feel. We identify it by I feel stuck, or I'm angry, or I'm preoccupied. So a lot of us are not very in touch with what we feel, and so I do teach that. However, there's a place for feelings and a place for facts. That's also in the methodology. But we identify drama by any form of negativity, resistance. In fact, there's three components always present in drama. And when I'm teaching this methodology, I teach people how to just learn to make this part of the way they think about it when drama erupts, when something happens that they don't want. Number one, there's always a lack of clarity. Number two, there is always a relationship component. And number three, there's always a level of resistance. So drama always has those three components and usually many more. But if we start there, we can unravel what the core issue really is so that we're not attacking it from the wrong place.
Oh, this is all great stuff. Now, Tuesday, while I was preparing for the show, I contacted 3 different limousine companies that our dealership does business with. And I am in the automobile business. I'm not in the limousine business. So I wanted to kind of get an idea of what type of drama is most common to the limousine industry. So I called 3 different companies and I asked them that question: what type of drama do you experience the most? Now, my initial thought was, office drama. A lot of companies have office drama, but that wasn't what all 3 companies mentioned. All 3 companies mentioned that the majority of drama occurs actually within their chauffeurs and drivers. They mentioned issues where they'll desire more work hours, or he's getting more jobs than me, or why are you scheduling me at this time? Bickering with sales departments or operations because they're unhappy of how a job was booked. Now, all these issues can be challenging and mentally wearing on a business owner or dispatcher. Now, one of the companies did mention that managing drivers, can be challenging, and he compared it to running a group home. What are your thoughts on that comment and what I just shared?
Wherever there's people, there's going to be the opportunity for drama. And when there's an industry where there's a lot of change, and obviously in that industry, every day is a new day. There's new travelers. There's many components that stay the same, but there's always new people, new trips to take on, new maps to look at, new technology to learn. So it's going to be a part of any industry. So I want to say don't feel bad about that you have this drama. But what I do want to say is that seeing the way that, and owners don't necessarily like this, so whoever's listening, take a deep breath, because I say this with compassion. But to see the people you work with as being so difficult that it's like managing, what'd you say, a group home?
A group home.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to see things, because that's blaming outside circumstances. I will guarantee that if there's a different way to look at things from a sense of partnership, there's some lack of clarity somewhere. And if you look at the people who work with you and you don't care about their happiness, you don't care about their opinions, and it's all about what I need to do, what's right for me, instead of like, look, we're in this together, let's make this as happy and as good as we can, and find some creative ways to fix some of the problems and some of the gripes, and weed out the people that are really the problems and the people that have the negativity. That should be a core driving force, and it should be a way that you see your people as we are partners, and my success contributes to theirs and theirs contributes to mine. When you look at someone as a means to an end, you'll have drama because you're not seeing them as human. So you've got to learn to see them differently.
So you mentioned means to an end, and this leads into my next question. What is the biggest mistake that managers and owners of companies make to create or contribute to drama inadvertently?
That's a great question. It could be a whole teleseminar. One is that they lack clarity, and number two, this goes with it, is that they lack the communication skills to keep everybody in the loop. Another thing that they do is they get a vision for where they want the company to go, and instead of, I my part of my signature process is called Identify the Gap, which we'll talk about later. But what they don't do is they don't narrow the steps. In other words, again, using the language of the island to say, okay, we're in a rowboat, we're going to the island, and it's 5,000 miles away, and you've got 2 rowers and 2 sets of oars and no map. You can't do that to people. What you have to do is, it's great to have the vision, but you have to keep creating places of success. So you want to get them to the island of 50 miles away and then revisit your plan, and then get another rower, then stop at the next island 100 miles away and pick up a motor and stop at the in other words, there has to be places where we communicate where we are and where we're going, and we make people feel successful. I think one of the biggest problems that owners have is they've got this vision, and the vision is all about growing the company, increasing revenues, stamping out the competition, but they leave everybody else out of it, sort of like everybody else should just be happy to do whatever they say without having any idea where they're going, and that's simply unrealistic. So you have to let people in on the vision, and I know it's difficult with contractors because they're not employees, but there are creative ways to get everybody rowing in the same direction. So I would say, first of all, the clarity about what do you want. Quit changing your mind all the time. Get clear on what you want, have stopping places, and create success for people so that they want to be on your team.
So once clarity occurs, how can a business owner or manager basically correct the situation and reestablish trust in their employees or contractors?
That's key right
Contracted
there.
employees.
You just said it. It is about trust. If you're inconsistent, if you're changing your mind all the time, if you're not following through, you're not going to have trust. Trust and integrity is the key to leadership. When people know that what you say is what happens, and if it can't happen, you get right back with them and tell them why, you will have contractors, you'll have everybody wanting to work for you. Everybody wants to work with someone that they trust, if I'm working with you and you knew that I had your best interests at heart, even if I made a mistake, you would be forgiving of it. But if it was all
That's
about
right, and you're going to want to go through a wall. You're going to want to go through walls for your employer when you feel
absolutely, because
wanted.
I do some partnerships. I partner in both ways. I have contractors that work for me, and I'm telling you, I love them. I'm always so excited about their skills. I'm excited about their ideas, and I try to figure out ways to help them too, because I'm not their only client. They are not my employee. So I look at them as one who has other clients as well, but I want to be their favorite. So I look for ways to make sure that they're happy. I compliment them on the skills they have. I ask for their ideas. I don't just look at them as a means to an end, get my stuff done, or else I'm not going to pay you. I don't look at them that way. I see them differently. I see them as partners. When you see people as partners, even your employees, you will have people bending over backwards. But if you see people as just to get your stuff accomplished and you don't care about them, you don't care about their ideas, and you don't want to develop them, there's no wonder there's drama.
Now, I was searching on the Internet while I was preparing for the show, and I ran across an article that you were featured in that was in, I think, Sydney, Australia, regarding drama queens. It was about drama queens. But every company has at least 1 or 2 employees that constantly complain. These individuals, it can be difficult to make them happy regardless of the situation. Now, I have 2 questions for you. What is the best way for management to work with and mentor an individual that is like this to reduce the drama they may cause in the workplace? And are you better off creating an open-door policy in which these people can vent directly to management or the ownership versus having them just complain to their coworkers?
That's really a loaded question and a very good one. Well, first I want to make a distinction between the drama queen versus the queen bee, because it's 2 sides of the same coin. A lot of workplaces will have the drama queen, which you mentioned, which is the complainer. They're negative. It's like on Saturday Night Live, if you've ever watched Debbie Downer, and then there's always that wah, wah, after she says something negative. And then the queen bee is the one who's more like, the drama queen is more like the victim on the triangle. The queen bee is more like the persecutor. And so both of them cause drama in the workplace. The queen bee runs the show behind everybody's back. She's got the manipulation down to pat. The drama queen gets the attention from all the boo-hoo and the negativity and look at my poor life. So you asked about the open door policy. first of all, I tell owners, get rid of the open door policy, because that is not the truth of how you operate anyway. You cannot have your door open all the time to be disrupted by petty problems about what someone is unhappy about. What you want to do is you want to set your office hours to handle complaints, but you also want to teach them how to complain. So in other words, you say, for example, the office hours for coming and registering a complaint are between 2 and 4 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you need to have an appointment. You need to have an appointment. And when you come, I want you to come with this format: what the problem is, how it hurts productivity, customer service, our revenues. In other words, you create the criteria, and an idea you have where we could change this. So you start empowering them to think like a problem solver. So you close the door except for certain hours, and you give them a framework, and then when they come in and start in railing, you say, oh, I'm sorry. I know that we haven't had this rule for very long, but I want to create this rule, and this is how I want you to approach it. So come back to me. This is Thursday, so that's fine. Let's set the appointment now, and then you come back to me in 15 minutes when you have it. Write it down the way that you want to talk about it. Then when they come into you and they start complaining, you say, let's follow the format. What is the stated problem, and how is it impacting teamwork, customer service? You see what I'm saying? You create a criteria.
Yes.
Then
this is good stuff.
Then after that, what you say is, if they keep complaining, this is your response. You say, what is it that you want? Like, first of all, you want to make them feel heard. You don't want to be mean. You want to say, I can tell that you're really upset. Here's a Kleenex or whatever. You know, I hear you. It sounds like you're really upset. You may have really good reason to feel the way you do. Make sure that they feel heard. First of all, people want to feel heard, so make them feel heard, and then say, what is it that you want? Now, if they're really a drama queen, they'll say, well, it's just not fair. And you say, I hear you, and it may or may not be fair. I need to understand the facts. What is it that you want? Well, I'll tell you what's not supposed to happen. I understand that. The question I have for you is, what is it that you want? In your perfect world, and I'm not saying I can grant that, but what is it you want? Because until someone can say what they want, they're just in drama. I want an apology. I want to be able to leave work at 5. I don't want to be the one that has to take out the trash every day. They have to be able to articulate something instead of just standing there whining.
So from a management standpoint, obviously you're trying to get the person to seek clarity.
Absolutely. And you as a manager also need to seek clarity and not get roped in, because you'll turn into, oh, I understand, and that's too bad, and then they get their attention and their addictive fix, or it'll turn into, listen, I didn't ask you to work here. That's just the way it is, and if you don't like it, find yourself another place to work. Well, now you've got victim and persecutor, right? The other way, you've got victim and rescuer. Or you've got now, or else you feel victimized because they've totally drained your energy and you're resentful that they're taking up your time.
Yes,
so if you have strong, clear boundaries about how you want the communication to go, you have to be the coach, and you have to care for them and be compassionate. People have emotions. That's how people are. But you also have to, what I call, honor the person, but discount the story they've got going on.
Okay. That's great. Now, in the limousine industry, the majority of chauffeurs, some are employees, but the majority of them are independent contractors or independent operators. Now, these guys and gals work very hard, and they have a lot of responsibilities on their shoulders. Being an independent operator, how does that contribute to drama versus being an employee?
Well, actually, it should eliminate some of the drama. Like, let's face it, you don't have to pay payroll, right? Or you know, it's a different set of rules regarding how you pay them. They have their own business. Basically, they're business owners. Basically, contractors are business owners, and if you view them that way and you want to work with the best business owners, you're going to have a whole different set of circumstances than if you view them at rolling your eyes saying, oh, these contractors, they're so undependable. Well, if that's the way you're seeing them, the human brain works in such a way that it looks to find evidence to be right about what it believes. So if that's what you believe, you've already set your brain up to look for every flaw that every individual has instead of having an authentic conversation in the spirit of partnership to say, listen, John, I really want to work with you, but you're showing up, sometimes I notice that there's mud on your, on your limousine.
Uniform or, yeah.
Yeah, or on your limousine. Your car has this on it, and I'm wondering if on a certain day you have a client where you're going out somewhere where it's a bit messy. Let's try to work around that, In other words, they're a partner. You can't fire them. I mean, you can decide not to work with them, but why have drama? They either work out for you or they don't. Like I work with contractors all the time, and you know what? We both get to choose if we work together. It would be ridiculous of me to keep complaining about someone that's not an employee, and I'm griping about another partner business owner.
Now let's talk about negativity. Negativity in the workplace, we all know it can spread like wildfire. Now, I was reading an article online, and it happened to discuss, 10 ways to be happy at work. Now, one of the tips that they mentioned was don't let the negative Neds and Nellies bring you down. Now, how can these negative Neds and Nellies bring down the morale of the team and affect productivity and profitability?
Well, it's just like you said, David. It spreads like a virus, and, I've got a one sheet that I hand out when I'm speaking. And there's an expert that I researched that says that when you vent and when you create and talk about negativity and start complaining, what you're doing is you're creating new connections in your brain for the purpose of venting and negativity. So the idea here is that what you focus on expands. So when someone comes in and they start getting negative, people that are not real aware, and this is what I was talking about before with when someone comes into your office, don't get sucked in. What it's easy to do is get on your own rant, and it's sort of like your pain body connects with theirs, and before long someone's triggered you, and now you're in a bad mood. So
and then you don't know why you even argued it, why, and then both parties don't even know why they got upset in the first place in the end, correct? Because your emotions are blinding their thoughts.
It's so true, and the way that I jokingly give this visual to people, I'll say it's kind of like this. You can't get sucked in. You can't bite the hook, because here's what it is. As you're learning to gain more clarity, because there's always a lack of clarity in all drama, so if you've got a lot of drama in your life, it's because other people are getting you sucked in some way, and you're not clear about what your real commitment is. And that's painful to hear, but I say it with compassion, and I've been there. So what you want to do is you want to get clear. Yeah, everybody has. It's human. And so what you want to do when you're around someone that you think is really negative, you want to be very prepared and sort of view the conversation as if you're watching a movie screen instead of getting too entangled in the conversation. You want to be caring and respectful, and you want to let them know they've been heard, but you don't want to get into dialogue about something that they're not ready to resolve, because that's kind of like you're the big carp in the river, and they've just thrown out a hook, and this hook has this juicy worm on it. And you think that you're going to just swim by, but the worm is too tempting, and you bite on whatever they throw out there for you, and they reel you in, and before long you're in a 20-minute conversation that's going nowhere. Then the next time you say, you know what, next time they bring that up, I am not going to bite on that worm. Okay, so they bring it up, you see the worm, and you go, no, I'm swimming by. Then about 3 feet later, you see this lovely piece of cheesecake, and you bite that. Oh, my God, there's a hook in it. See, they figured out something else to use as their bait.
Oh, boy, very, very, very smart. This is all great stuff. Now, we're going to head to break. Now, you were listening to the Limo Show presented by Towne Livery here on Blog Talk Radio. Now is the time, listeners out there, live listeners, now is the time to get on board if you want to ask Marlene Chism a question regarding stop drama in the workplace. Now, when we come back, we're going to discuss Marlene's 8 principles of the Stop Your Drama methodology. Now, you can reach us at 714-868-0786. That's 714-868-0786. When we come back, we will open the phone lines to you. You are listening to The Limo Show here on Blog Talk Radio.
Would you like a marketing partner that not only understands marketing, but knows the transportation industry inside and out? Are you struggling to attract new customers, retain your current customers, or win back lost customers? If you find yourself saying yes to any of these questions, there's only one place to call. Call the marketing wizard of the limousine industry, Arthur Messina from Create-A-Card. Create-A-Card is the #1 supplier of business cards, marketing supplies, and promo items to the limousine industry of North America. Contact Create a Card today at 1-800-753-6867. That's 1-800-753-6867, so they can help transform your marketing and advertising into consistent sales-generating machines. You can also find us on the web at createacardinc.com. That's createacardinc.com.
Are you looking to add an executive L Towne car to your fleet? If you are, call Towne Livery. Towne Livery is a franchise Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, and BMW dealer that specializes in selling livery vehicles nationwide. Towne Livery is located in Buffalo, New York, and is able to ship your vehicle to you at an affordable price. So, when you think of livery vehicles, think of Towne Livery. Towne Livery can be reached at 800-730-3683. That's 800-730-3683. One-stop shopping at Towne Livery.
You're listening to a podcast of one of our previously aired shows. The Limo Show will be coming to you live next Thursday night, 8 p.m. here on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Limo Show. You're listening to Limo Show presented by Towne Livery, heard weekly on Blog Talk Radio. Now, Marlene, I picked that song on purpose because we talked about the Neds and Nellies bringing you down, so I wanted to have some fun by picking and playing that song.
That's
now,
a great
welcome
song.
back, definitely. Welcome back. Now, before we open up the phone lines, I just have a few more questions. Okay. Now, you had mentioned to the listeners that you'd share your 8 principles of methodology, of the stop drama methodology. Can you share those with us?
I will, and what I'll do is I'll kind of pause at the end of each one, so if you want to have a question or something, we can go there.
Okay, great.
The first principle, which we've talked about to some degree, is clear the fog. And the idea is that clarity can change any situation, and the other premise is the one with clarity navigates the ship and everyone else shovels coal. So if you, as a business leader, feel like you're at the bottom of the ship shoveling coal to keep it going, kind of like what we saw in the Titanic on that movie, that means you're not on the top deck. It means someone else is on the top deck and not you. Just understand that when you're not liking how things are going, get some clarity, and that will change everything. So that's number one, is clear the fog.
Okay, now how can clarity change any situation? As we've talked about clarity a lot today.
Yes, we have, because once you get clear, and clarity has to do not only with what you want, it has to do with your values and your goals. Once you get clear, you quit making choices that do not align. In other words, if I say, this is an easy example. Let's say that as an employee, I say, I'm clear, I'm committed to teamwork. But then the minute I get mad at Sally, I go to the island called making Sally wrong. Look what Sally did. Well, I would wait on that. Yeah, like I would wait on that customer, but that's not my job. And after all, she didn't wait on mine last week, so I'm not going to wait on hers. Well, now we've got a lack of clarity here because we have someone saying I'm committed to teamwork, but what we really see is I'm committed to being right and making sure that I win the argument with Sally. When we get really clear about what we're committed to, our actions either align with that or they don't. And sometimes we have to be willing to do things that don't feel so good. And so that's how clarity can actually change any situation, is by looking at it from the perspective of I'm a boat going to the island, and when I lose clarity, it's sort of like I got off a degree, and if I get off 90 degrees in 90 days, I'm off 180 degrees. You know what I'm saying? I'm off at a 90-degree angle.
Yep.
And so that's how clarity, if they'll align.
Now, what's the second principle?
The second one we've talked a little bit about as well, which is identify the gap, and that's that idea that there's a distance between where you are and where you want to be. But if you don't know what's required to get there, you're going to give your people one oar and no map, and they're not going to get there. They're going to give up because they're not clear on how to get there. It's going to be too hard of a journey, and they're not going to have the resources. I do see that as a big problem that managers have, is they don't give the appropriate resources for the big lofty goals they have, and they expect everybody to be as excited about it as them, even though they're not the owners, and that's unrealistic. You've got to identify that gap and say, this is how far it's going to take us, and these are the resources that we need. So identify the gap is the second piece.
Okay. And what do you mean by gap? Whoa, I don't know what that is there, but we're going to stop that. Okay. My computer just wanted to play that song. Okay, but basically what is your third principle?
The third principle is tell yourself the truth. And the premise here is that most of what we experience in life is made up of stories, assumptions, filtering, and our subconscious mind. So a lot of times we don't tell the truth not only about what we want, but we don't tell the truth in what we make up stories about people. For example, let's say that a contractor walks in, and let's say the owner of the company is preoccupied and he walks by, so the contractor tells all the other ones, hey, he's a jerk, he'll avoid you, he doesn't treat you right, just know that. Well, he's made up a story based on one experience. Someone walked by him and didn't give him eye contact, and he's making up a story about it. So what I teach in my methodology is how to separate fact from fiction, and one of the things that I say is knowing your feelings won't change the facts, but knowing the facts can change your feelings.
Okay, great. And we're on to number 4.
Okay, number 4 is reinvent and realign. The idea here is that if you want to be the kind of leader that you have this ideal about who you want to be, you have to step into a new truth, and you have to see yourself that way and start being that way. It's not, you don't wait till you get more money. You don't wait till your business is more successful. You start seeing yourself the way that you want to be seen, and you start acting that way, because the way you see yourself will impact everything. It'll impact the way you lead, the risks you take, the language you use, the way you perform. So if you want to raise to the next level, start seeing yourself differently. You have to reinvent and realign.
Now, you mentioned the language you use. There was a video that I saw on your Facebook page that I showed it to a few of my coworkers today. That's the one where the blind man was sitting.
Yes.
It was a wonderful video, and it talks about basically I guess it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
That's true. I love that video, and it's not what you say, it's how you say it, but it's also, instead of being a victim, it's about the way that you present something. And so the way that you see yourself and the way that you present that image to the world is what's going to change. That's what's going to inspire people. If you see yourself as an owner that's just trying to eke a living, and times are tough and no one understands and you've had it rough, and if you see yourself that way, that's the life you're creating.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that, and I thought it was very well done. Okay, what's the next principle?
The next one is principle number 5, which is stop relationship drama, and this one is all about the drama triangle. And the idea here is that if you want to build other people up, you have to start seeing them differently. And we've already touched on that, where you said, well, this person said they see their partners like running a group home. Of course, there's a kernel of truth to that. There's human problems in everything, and there's going to be challenges. But in articulating and speaking about the people like that, you're going to get more of the same. So to stop relationship drama, you want to honor the person, but discount all the little stories that they have about who they are. You start seeing them and requiring something more of them.
Okay, now relationships, you're saying relationships play a role in drama. Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, and relationship, here's an interesting piece of that. Relationships is more than just other people. Relationships have to do with how you think, because really there is no relationship without thinking about someone. For example, we all know about the catastrophe that just happened in Japan. And
yes, it was horrible.
I'm sure it feels worse if you have a relative over there. If you know someone personally, you have a relationship with Japan at that place. If you don't have a relationship with them other than it's on the map, you know that they create great products, and you admire the beauty of the country and the people and their customs. That's a little bit of a relationship, but it's not the same as if you visited. You see what I'm saying? The more you think about something,
Yes.
the bigger your relationship. So to change a relationship, you have to change your thinking. And I jokingly say the best relationship advice I ever got was from my very first coach, who said, if you want to excel in this business, Marlene, you better fall in love with the phone, because I had a bad relationship with the phone. I'm still not one that loves to be on the phone, but I do a lot of work on the phone. I'm on it all day long in coaching. I'm on it on teleseminars like this. I'm on it on Blog Talk Radio. So I had to fall in love with the phone because I had a bad relationship with the phone. I dreaded it. I didn't want to be on it, and therefore it hurt my business.
Okay, now what's number 6?
Number 6 is master your energy. Everything in this universe is made up of energy. And so, you know, if you've got someone that has big mood swings, for example, there's 5 kinds of energy. There's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and environmental. So anywhere where you're struggling, there's probably an energetic component somewhere as well. For example, most of us don't get enough sleep. That's a physical issue, and it can then lead to an emotional energy drain. A lot of companies don't believe that employees should ever take any breaks. Well, you know what? That's wrong thinking, because if you don't sharpen the saw, if you don't take little 5-minute, 15-minute breaks about every 90 minutes, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And in this serious business of transporting human beings, you don't want exhausted people. You don't want people that have been up all night long drinking coffee and they're preoccupied on their cell phone. You want to master your energy. The same thing, like you get real excited because you've got a big business deal, and you get overly excited and your adrenaline rushes, and then you get real cocky. That's not mastering your energy. You get real depressed because something didn't work out, and you get so down that you don't want to even open up today. That's not mastering your energy. Energy mastery is a very important part of success.
Okay, now what's number 7? Number
7 is release resistance, and that's a huge part because there's always resistance present in every type of drama. And, you know, we all have resistance every single day, and my definition for resistance is the non-acceptance of what is and the inability or the unwillingness to find a solution.
Okay,
so
now let's talk. Release the resistance. Now, how do you know if you're in a state of resistance?
You'll feel stuck, and you'll feel angry, and you'll feel negative. And so anyone complaining, that's resistance. For example, I've got a cute little short story. One day, we all resist. One day I went to this festival with my neighbor. It's called Cider Days, and it's in the fall and kind of the hot part of the fall. We were outside, and we were looking at these booths. You know, they have jewelry and pottery and snacks and stuff like that. Man, the sun was beating down on my head, and I reached up there, and my hair was just as hot as fire. And I said to my neighbor, I said, man, it is hot. She said, it is. About 3 minutes later, I said, man, I am burning up. She said, yeah, I'm sweating. Then I said, God, I can barely stand it. I said, it's ridiculous. And it was almost as if I heard an audible voice that said, Marlene, get in the shade or go home. I mean, it's doing you no good. You said it, someone agreed with you, it's over. Like, you don't need to keep revisiting how hot it is. You didn't bring a hat, you didn't bring an umbrella. You're bitching about it being hot. It's hot.
I make that mistake sometimes where I you know, I don't realize, and we all make this when we're talking. It's like, you know, sometimes I guess I'll lose clarity, and I get myself into a situation, and the situation's been settled, but it's not over for me. I just keep going, but, you know, because I'm an emotional person.
I'll tell you what, no, you're like everybody else, but here's what I've learned. It's never about the solution. It's always about the emotional energy and about the resistance before it's about anything else. So when the employee's complaining to you, for you to jump in and solve the problem will only create more heels dug in, because what has to happen for any change, there's a place where change happens. And I talk about this in my book, which you can get, by the way, at stopworkplacedrama.com. But
in a award-winning book, by the way, award-winning book.
Yes, at stopworkplacedrama.com. But there's a place where I talk about what I call the fulcrum point of change, because as long as the heels are dug in on both sides, nothing changes. And you can, everybody, and especially if there's any women listening, You can have a female friend that starts griping about her boyfriend, and the more you give advice, the more she digs in, and you could feel like you're helping, but then you turn around, she makes the same mistake and keeps dating him or whatever, right? Same thing in business. You can give the advice, but they're not ready for it because the truth is they're in that place of I need to be right, and I'm stuck, and I'm blaming outside circumstances. So to release resistance, you first have to accept what is. So in other words, here's the snapshot of resistance versus non-resistance. Resistance is this. Oh, my God, there's a leak in the boat. It's so unfair. It always happens to me. It's the boat maker's fault. I'll never go here again. I cannot wait to tell everybody else how bad so-and-so did me. It shouldn't have been me in the boat, blah, blah, blah. You've just now wasted 30 minutes. Here's non-resistance. Oh, my God, there's a leak in the boat. I certainly don't like it. Let me pull over and figure out what my choices are. See
That's smart. Yes, big time. Now, what is number 8?
To say, I want to say this too. To say,
yes.
Oh, I've got such bad contractors. They're awful. They're slime. They're like babysitting. That's resistance. Well, okay, it's not working out. I'm not getting the right people. Let me pull over and figure out what I'm not doing right.
Yeah. Now, number 8. What is your 8th principle?
8 is to become a creator. That means to take full responsibility for all the contents of your life and your business. When you start becoming a creator, you ask different questions. Instead of saying, how come everyone that I work with they're so crappy at their job? I say, how could I attract people that are really in partnership? You see the difference in the question?
Yes, it's positive thinking.
Like, why does this always happen to me? Versus, okay, what could be good about this? What could I learn? Where in the process is this not working? Because once I change that one thing, it's going to shift the results.
Okay, now why do you choose to use the word creator?
Because creators.
When you're doing.
Okay, I love that question because here's what I've learned on my journey as an entrepreneur. By me declaring something, I've just now created it. The moment I stepped out of craft and said I'm a professional speaker, it became so. It became so because I said so. When I said so and I believed it enough, people started paying me. When I said so and believed it even more, I went on and got a master's degree. When I said so and believed it even more and did more things to show that I agreed with that statement and I did more work to prove that I was in alignment, I wrote a book and Wiley paid me for it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, that's.
I created it. I created this. It did not come because I happened to be lucky and the glass slipper fit. If you want to build your business, become a creator and a co-creator with other human beings that are owners, employees, partners, even competitors. There's ways that you can still help each other.
Now, in the limousine industry, there are a lot of creators. Majority of limousine companies didn't have companies handed down from their families. A lot of these companies created this business. And what's nice is there are different trade shows. There's the Limousine Digest show that's every year in November in Atlantic City. Then there's the LCT show in Las Vegas, Nevada. And then there's a few other shows in between. And what's great about it, and we'll use your term, the creators, what's great about it is the creators in the limousine industry go to these shows. They shake hands. They network. They do amazing things. And from me being a vendor, looking from the outside in, it's amazing when I see somebody go to their first show and 5 years later they're at their 5th show. You can see a difference in how their business has grown because they've taken the initiative to be a creator and go out there and seek more for their company because it just wasn't handed to them. And there's a lot of people in this industry that are like this.
I relate to everything you're saying because, I came from that factory background, didn't have a family that was in business, and I had to learn everything from scrapping and from the seat of my pants too. So I love it that this industry is full of creators because here's what I say to people. If you're in a negative place right now and if you've got a mindset about your employees or your staff or whatever, take a breath. Maybe you're not mastering your energy. And I want to encourage people to say, look what you've created this far. You can turn it around. If you're unhappy with the relationships, look at yourself as being a creator. You can change it. Clarity will change any situation. Get clear. Start declaring it. Start saying, I only work with the very best contractors, and then start weeding out those that aren't. And you know what? Before long, the best will come to you.
Now, we have a few more minutes left in the show. If there are any callers out there, you can give us a call at 714-868-0786. We have less than 10 minutes in the show, and you can ask Marlene anything about what we've discussed tonight. Now, I'm going to go back, and you mentioned something before, and this caught my attention. You said honor the person and discount the story. What do you mean by that?
Oh, love this question. Everybody has a story, and it's a script that they live their life by. My story used to be, well, I was just nothing but a factory worker, so therefore it's going to be really, really hard for me to make it as a professional speaker. I want that, but I'm not quite sure I believe it because people will judge me. So that's the story I've got, and I'm going to live my life from the story I've created about myself. Maybe other people aren't judging, or maybe they are, but we get to be creators of our stories. But if we don't know what our story is, we keep creating a story. And so a quick example is one time I was in Chicago, and I was I was waiting outside for a cab to pick me up. It was a blustery winter day. The snow was just pouring out of the sky. And this homeless man approached me, and it kind of scared me. And he asked me if I had a hat.
So this was going on right here? This was going on?
Pardon?
It was windy. It was nice and windy like this.
Yes, it was. We got the sound effects going on. It was blustery. And there was this homeless man, and he approached me, and he asked me if I had a hat. And I said no. And I did have this scarf, but I didn't want to give that scarf away. And he said his ears were cold, and he said, come back here and see where I live. I live in the alley. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I was getting ready to give him some money, but I said, well, wait a minute. And he goes, no. He goes, you wait a minute. He goes, listen to my story. And he said, I went to jail, and I was accused of murder, and I about passed out when I heard that because I thought, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, you get worried.
And he goes, no, I didn't do it. But he goes, because of that, he said, I am forced to live on the streets, and no one cares for me, and I have no money, and I'm forced to live in these kind of conditions. And I said, well, I mean, there may be truth. I don't know his real circumstances, and that's not the point. But what I said was, well, what if opens the fields of possibility, and that's one of the things I teach in the book. I said, what if you went inside this hotel and you said, look, I've been living on the street, and I know that that's a scary thing, and Chicago's full of that, but I would love to take out the trash every day to prove myself. Can you spare any money to help me get back on my feet? I'll be dependable. I said, what if you just tried? He goes, oh, no, they would never believe me. That will never happen. I said, but what if it would? Oh, it can't, because I've been in prison. And I said, really? And I said, you know what? And I reached in, and I grabbed a 20, and I gave it to him, and I said, I see so much more for you than that. And then
so the prison was the shark, basically, right?
The prison was his mind about what was possible for him because of what had happened. And he might be right, but he still wasn't. See, the fulcrum point of change is willingness. He was not willing to take a risk and get rejected. He would rather have the story. And he wanted to be heard. And I heard him, and I made him feel heard. But I said, I see so much more for you. And then when I said that, there was a light that came on in his eyes, and he picked up my suitcase. He goes, I'm doing something for you. I'm doing something for you. And he put my suitcase in the back of the cab. Now, I don't know whether he's still living there, whether he's dead, whether it shifted him or not, but that's what I mean about seeing people differently. Say to people, I see something more for you. That may be your truth. I see you stepping into a new truth.
That's a great story. Now, I've got one last question for you, and I was looking at your website, and I saw that you talk about living in the zone. Now, would you share that with us, what living in the zone means to you?
Absolutely. Most of the time when we are in anxiety, which a lot of us are right now because there's scary times, we're all in the unknown right now, more so than ever. Change is happening at this rapid pace. When we're in this place where that does not feel good, so it's any obstacle to your peace or prosperity, it's either because you're living too far in the past and you're getting into regrets and guilt, or you're living too far into the future into either hope, like, oh, once I get there, then I'll be happy. Once I make $2 million in my business, then I'll be happy. Or you're living too far into anxiety. Oh, my God, I'm going to lose everything because I don't have enough cash flow. What I tell people is to look at a number line with 0 meaning being right in the present moment. Well, as business owners, we don't feel like we can do that because we do have to plan, we have to project, and we have to learn from the past. So what I say to people is, negative 10 is living too far in the past. Positive 10 is living way too far in the future. If you can live in the zone, you'll live between -2 and +2. And -2 is I'm learning from the history and from other people and from mistakes. And +2 is I'm looking ahead. I'm projecting a little bit, but I'm getting right back into the zone at 0. And I sometimes look at +10 because it motivates me. But if it freaks me out, I get right back into +2 because that's the area where I can be productive.
Oh, this show has been tremendous, Marlene. I have enjoyed this conversation thoroughly. Now, how can the listeners out there get in touch with you and also find your book, your award-winning book? How can they find it on the web? Give us some information of how people can reach you if they'd like to learn more about stopping drama in the workplace.
Okay. I will give a couple of websites, and I'll give my phone number. My number is 417-831-1799. So if they're interested in speaking engagements, coaching, training, they can call me. And if I'm not here, I'll call back. They can go to marlenechism.com to see my speaking website. If they want to
CHISM, right? Marlene, CHISM.
Yes, Marlene, MarleneChism.com. And then the website, if you put Stop Your Drama or Stop Workplace Drama, you're going to find me. But the newest site is stopworkplacedrama.com and .org. At .org, they'll see a video of me. They'll see me offering the book and a link to get it on Amazon. And then once you get the book, you get entrance into the book club for free, and there's a lot of downloads and products that you can use for employee development or for your own development. And so you can search around stopworkplacedrama.com and get all kinds of just free advice. There's videos, there's articles. I've interviewed other experts, and there's a few places to sign up to get a few little e-lessons and such.
Can you tell us about AttitudeBuilders.com? What is that?
Well, Attitude Builders, that was a program, and it still is. I had developed a training program, a way to develop your staff, really. And what it was is I interviewed an expert that had written a book every single month, or else I would develop a program, and there would be a learning guide, and so it's a 1-hour MP3 with a PDF, and it's to develop your staff with no prep, no plan, and no problem, because I am so clear that developing other people is the way to have a bunch of creators on your team, and it helps to build camaraderie if you do these little programs. So on the Stop Workplace Drama blog, you can see where Attitude Builders is there as a 6. There's 6 of these programs you can buy as a membership, and they come delivered to you once a month for 6 months. And you can just simply use these in a staff meeting. There's one by an author called. He wrote a book called Buddha's Brain, and it's about how to use your brain to create more peace. He's a neuroscientist, a neuropsychologist, so it's a real interesting one. And then another Attitude Builders program, which I developed, that has a lot of brain research in it, is actually on the book club membership, which you can get if you get the book. So Attitude Builders was something I developed to help leaders develop other leaders.
Now, is there any other words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with before you go? Because you've left us with a lot of valuable information.
I just want to encourage, the people listening to know that you have value and that you can be a creator of your own life and that you can, eliminate the obstacles and learn to manage them in such a way that benefits you. And that if you're stuck right now or if you're feeling down, I want to just give you hope that nothing lasts forever, not even problems. And if you'll see these challenges as just part of your journey for growth, it makes it worth it.
No doubt about it. Marlene, thank you for being our guest. And one of the things I'd like to do is thank the listeners out there for listening to the Limo Show here on Blog Talk Radio. It's presented by Towne Livery, and we are on each week. And like I mentioned before, I'd like to thank you for listening to the program. Now, the Limo Show will be coming to you each week, so we encourage you to tune in and listen. And we'll have a wonderful week, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next edition of the Limo Show. Good night.